Good to see some smiles. Anything do you see in the room which can be possibly done with generative AI? Anything, like Namrata said, things can be replaced. Obviously,
More,
I'm the first person who can be replaced.
more
Maybe a
than
bot
the
can.
more than the other side. This side is more. So
Okay. So I'll just start off with my first question. The potential of generative AI, we all have seen what is possible, what are the possible use cases. But since our panel discussion is focused on the real use cases, and we would like to bring practical use cases which will be beneficial to each one of us. My first question is, what do you see as the opportunities of generative AI for your organization? And also if you can mention from your own experience, some of the things that is possibly being done in your organization. Can I start with you, Shiva? Okay, Mr. Abdullah, you want to take it first? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, let's go. Please go ahead. Definitely, I'll be talking about the complete practical perspective on the ground, on the road, especially in the healthcare perspective. The Gen AI is definitely playing a vital role in terms of clinical transformation. A lot of people talking about the digital transformation, but there is in healthcare the complete industry is talking about the clinical transformation. If you're talking about the clinical transformation, there the Gen AI is playing a vital role, especially in 80 to 90% in non-clinical workflows, and of course in the clinical workflows it is in an evolving stage. So there is a bottleneck in terms of clinical transformation and clinical adoption perspective. So this technology, AI and Gen AI, I'm talking about the complete IoT pack, which has enabled much more adoption rate from the clinical perspective. So that's one use case I'm talking about. And the second use case we are talking about that doesn't matter how costly you have taken a product from the product company, and if the product company is not able to put up at least basic support, so that becomes a bottleneck to live with that product. And finally, the patient and the customers are suffering. So in that case, the Gen AI, a complete IoT pack is playing a vital role to smoothen it. Recently, we have launched in the Omni group that's called support system. As soon as the patient is admitted in the hospital, the nurse is, rather than nurse pressing the bill for each and everything to the nursing station, and nursing station is again going and calling to the housekeeping department, linen department, maintenance or cafeteria, and then provide the services. It was taking a time, and it was a huge stat time for the customer, for the patient. So there this generative AI has opened, and in that the patient says that I need coffee, so it automatically goes to the dietitian look at that whether this patient is supposed to be diabetic, non-diabetic, and then she transfer that request to the canteen, and then it get delivered. For example, I'll give one more example. Suppose the patient need a additional pillow. Rather than the request going, she said need pillow, it goes housekeeping automatically, and that is being served immediately on the and the patient is able to see that what is the status of the request. The priority of the ticket is not somebody sitting and aligning the priority and assigning the ticket, but AI is taking care of that. So that's where the AI is adding value a lot. But if you talk about the clinical perspective, it is still in the evolving stage. And clinical does not accept it until unless it's the accuracy of 100%. So there are the pros and cons of AI and Gen AI. So in that case, that there is a limitation up to that level limitation the users are using, and the applications are getting evolved up to that level. And then otherwise the clinicians come in the picture and take the final decisions to start the treatment. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. That was a nice example. I'd like to come to Siva, who can share your own experience or practical use case in the manufacturing.
Thank you, Srikanth, for the opportunity. I represent Welspun Corp. This is one of the conglomerate in Indian MNC, and we are into diversified businesses. The business which I represent is into steel, ductile iron pipe, and pipe manufacturing, syntax, and shipyard. So this is a kind of conglomerate in this particular business which I handle. The generative AI, as far as is concerned, so we are one of the core value system is how do you adapt the technology and innovation as one of the key value systems in our organization. So there are close to dozens of things which is in the generative AI and ML, which is what has been initiatives already planned, it's work in progress, and there are certain things started reaping the benefit. A couple of example is that how do you gain the weight without optimizing the without compromising on the quality of the pipes, and how do you kind of gain the optimized weight. So that is all being done through the system, close kind of real-time basis with the previous pipe, what are the various parameters and what are the different things with different coefficients, and without it could ideally replace a human, like somebody was saying, can some particular process Gen AI can replace it. This is going to be, somebody has to be there only to just observe it. So kind of pilot has been done, so that has been there. And second thing is, one of my business users is also here. He is the plant head for the HML where the hot metal is being produced. So there are multiple input parameters and the input properties which is from coal, iron ore, and all that comes. And there are particular temperature has to be maintained in the oven. So how do you do that without compromising again on the properties of the hot metal, so which is the raw material for anything. It's like a kind of semi-solid liquid where it's been molded to different places where whatever the form you want it. So this particular temperature increase is again, we have deployed a model which has been learned for the last 6 months or 8 months. So it has started reaping the benefit, and close to 30-40 degrees centigrade has been increased using this particular model. So similarly, there are multiple other things. So another one example is that when we get a inquiry from the customer, it runs into thousands of pages for different specifications and different things, and also in multiple different sources through email, some documents, some images, and all that. So we have deployed a model where the entire thing is being collated and done that, and when it comes to the engineering department or the quality department, before they even bid for the project, so that it takes a longer time. It runs into months basically before you give a proposal. So this actually cut short on the entire timeline between the proposal you receive and the response what you give it. The other example is, like I was saying, that we buy different raw material is basically the coal, coke, and iron ore. So we buy it from different parts of the world, so across the world, and different properties is there for every coal. Depends on the where it comes, and the moisture content also depends on the situation or the season which is being delivered. And all that parameters also being monitored, and what are the different things, how do you optimize the cost in terms of using various things without compromising again on the specifications of the parameters which is already predefined. So that's also been in progress. So this is a couple of examples. There are multiple things. Maybe I'll take it as and when needed.
Wonderful, wonderful. Mr. Bala, would you want to share your example from the financial industry?
So I represent Geojit Financial Services, fundamentally a retail investment company. Basically, we are a consumer of this technology. We are unlike Oracle or something like that. What we found is actually a lot of operational efficiency, co-piloting. You know that in the financial services, in the field level, a lot of attrition, actually attrition rate is relatively very high. So the knowledge dissemination is a continuous process. Now we are actually experimenting this co-piloting, product literature, etc. Another thing is actually the regulatory environment. You know that there are a lot of circulars. Every day we are getting circulars. Every day at least 10 different circulars from stock exchanges, mutual funds, regulator, and all other things. And now we are actually putting into a repository and asking questions, etc. The LLM, India being a multilingual country, if you publish a research report in English, it has to go entire country in different languages, which is a very cumbersome task, which we are actually experimenting on LLM. These are all use cases for us in where what we found is adopting it is not an easy thing. It requires a lot of, it also requires a cultural change in the organization. That is very important. The second is the methodology which we adopt. That is also extremely important. Which methodology, which is actually the process. And a lot of fine-tuning, learning, and all those things are required. So we are making those steps and getting into this. We are getting slowly the result of operational efficiency initially and the knowledge dissemination.
Fantastic. Sriram, you want to explain on how Oracle is, because you're a tech company, and how are you using it within your own organization, and how do you see it improving also your customer's journey? I mean, some of the applications would.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Sriram, and I am from Oracle. Within Oracle, we have been doing generative AI for a few years. Like, we have a lot of products on AI itself. We have OCI Vision, where you can immediately do optical character recognition. We have OCI Speech, which converts, the way you talked about, conversion from one language to another. So those kind of services are inbuilt. We also have something called as a digital assistant. So what digital assistant does is, like, let's say, for example, you have put a content, right? Let's say, for example, a huge PDF file with a lot of things. And now you say, okay, this is what I want to generate it. And now I give my prompt, or I give my question to the agent, saying that summarize this, or tell me what is the fastest business economy in this. Those kind of things that you want quick insights, this digital assistant can already do. So this was already there. Now, one more thing even in that is, like, let's say, for example, you want to even put a website. You can put a website and tell, summarize 4 or 5 points from that website. It will immediately do that. So now what we have done is, last Cloud World, we announced our partnership with Cohere. Cohere had been our customer as well. Cohere is a leading platform for generative AI, similar to the way you have like OpenAI, ChatGPT. ChatGPT, you had started with GPT-3, which was 175 billion parameters, right? So Cohere had come up with 53 billion parameters, and they also have a small model, which is 7 billion parameters, right? So now we have integrated that into our solution itself. Now, what does that mean for the customer? The customer doesn't need to go outside of the interface. Everything, see, Oracle is known for, why Oracle is very popular amongst the cloud providers, right? We started late, but nevertheless, we learned a lot from all our competition, right? The things that probably customers were asking from our competition and that was not provided. We were able to do all that stuff. Now, you look at the security standards that Oracle gives today, as one of the person from Oracle, Shabir, had told, right? The leading banks and all are running on Oracle Cloud because of security. So from a AI perspective, a generative AI perspective, you would want to make sure that that kind of security standards are maintained. So we give that. Again, now we have also included these OpenAI, the generative AI into our products. So one of the leading products is like Fusion. All of you are aware of Fusion, right? So within Fusion, one product is called as HCM. Now, all of the people over here, I'm sure they're all senior members. And there is a time when it comes, maybe some organizations do on April, some organizations do in June, right? The time to do a performance review. I'm just giving one example, just one small example, okay? So within that, let's say, for example, you want to do a performance review of a person who's reporting to you, based on all the peer feedback that has gone, right? So what it does is you don't need to go as a manager to go through all the feedback. Generative AI does for you, completely summarizing the whole thing and telling that this is what your candidate is, and probably this is what you should rank. Now, in fact, even the other example is let's say, for example, we have Fusion, one more product which is called as Fusion CX. All of you are aware of it. Within Fusion CX, let's say, for example, you have a support ticket. Now, when a particular issue is being raised in your organization, let's say, for example, a support ticket has been raised, your agent is not going to spend a lot of time to understand where it is, which knowledge base, where do I search, how do I have to draft a response? So the integration that Oracle has done with Gen AI makes it very easy for a support agent to not spend time in how should I draft an email to an end customer for the problem that has happened, or where do I go and look for a particular problem and see the knowledge base. Generative AI takes care of this. So these are very, I would say, dip in the ocean, but these are very, some of the examples that I thought might be useful for all of.
Thank you. I'll now come to Ashish before I come to Srini and Manoj. Customer experience has been a strong theme for you in terms of, I mean, most of them spoke about internal and external stakeholders also in the, I mean, Mr. Abdullah spoke about, integration of IoT with Gen AI. Siva spoke about how, Gen AI can be used for certain manufacturing processes. How do you see that improving a customer's journey, customer experience per se?
So when it comes to Gen AI, I think one important area for any company is to grow their business. And for business growth, customer experience or customer perception is a huge area where Gen AI can play a role. For example, when we planned our business model 6 years ago, we were a 15-member company, and today we're up 300 plus, and working with AWS Azure and also in the DML space. I think Arthria did a fine job there explaining about us. What we did, we put consumer or the customer at the center, and then we planned backwards. And how can we help customers to have a better experience? We thought if we're able to personalize personalization, Gen AI can play an important role in the personalization space. If you have a powered assistant with a chatbot, we did a use case for a customer. We have built chatbot for them, and that chatbot is powered, Gen AI powered, and it's not just typing, and it hears to you. It hears in multiple languages. It simplifies your customer's experience, be it from a remote place, he can get served there. So these things have definitely helped to improve the customer experience, and from there on, Gen AI plays a lot of role. Recently, there's a new company which has come in, I heard recently, which is trying to create their own space in very crowded Ola and Uber area. What they're saying there are typically two consumer challenges that they face in India specifically. One is a lot of cancellations happen. You are late night at the airport, the driver will cancel the ride. And second thing is the cabs are not too clean. Maybe the driver has been driving for last 16 hours, he's not clean, it's smelly. So what they have done, they've said we'll look at these two aspects of the consumer behavior and we'll address it and possibly create our own niche. Now they're looking at the entire data, they did their analysis. All this is where the Gen AI plays a role. They had to reach the masses, they had to get the data curated, and where they could find the problem and solve it and create their own business. I think these are two areas. We have created a lot of solutions there. It's really good to hear to each one of you from different industries. It's a huge space, and every day is a new challenge. We have already built a team. In terms of the challenges, I would like to add.
I'll come to that later. So
Sure.
maybe you can speak on the use case because we have a separate.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks a lot.
So thank you, Ashish. You also mentioned about, because India is such a diverse country, a lot of opportunities for, the multilingual part where, Gen AI can play a big role. And now, both of you belong to companies which are not built for the masses, but you serve the masses. Paytm and even Srini's hospital. I mean, you go deep interiors into places where I think multi-language support is a huge, can be a huge issue, especially in customer experience. Would you like to elaborate on some of the use cases? Any one of you can start on the use cases specifically that can be possible with Gen AI.
Yeah, whether you may think this is hype, but the fact is what they say, in the air, only 3 innovations. One is fire, second one is electricity, third one is agriculture. After this, AI. This is going to happen, actually. That's the, phenomenal is going to. So now coming back to, with respect to Aravind Eye Hospital, we are being a non-profit organization. For us, and covering the huge mass population is a big challenge, right? So, and our aim is to make affordable eye care. Okay, that's what our mission. Okay, so for doing this, we need to find all the ways how we can do the mass screening, mass health care, and with affordable. Okay, so this is where, and particularly eye care, predominantly if you see, most of the diabetic patients will have a first symptom is your eye will have an impact. Okay, so by the time when people from rural villages, they come to our hospital, they lost their vision. because they don't know whether they are diabetic or not. This is the big challenge, okay? And today in India, 1 out of 5 every citizen is diabetic. 20% of population is diabetic. So imagine 1.4 billion. So almost 30-40 million citizens are affected with the diabetic. To screen 40 million, you need how many doctors? Is it practical? So that's where this challenge, like we worked with the Google, and we came out and we have collected huge data. We did a 3-4 years of exercise. You might have seen Sundar Pichai talks about in one of this one, and they helped us to we worked with them very closely. Today, typically, to screen the patient, you need a retina specialist or typical physician or ophthalmologist. Today, what we do, we built a complete, algorithm in the framework where a non-clinical person goes to a village, does the screening, okay, the image goes to the cloud. Within a minute, we'll come to know whether the patient is diabetic or not. Okay, so the cost is nothing. So that's why we are able to screen today 2,000 to 3,000 patients every day. So that's the use case which we have been, doing this last 2 years. In fact, recently Google published in their one of the blog, so 300,000 people have been screened with this action. So that is the the case, use case which we have been. Now we are planning to extend this glaucoma, retina for all the specialties actually. Okay, so that the cost is very minimal, do the mass and high quality. So that's the and other thing is, let's say a patient comes up with one symptom, okay, and the way we do understanding this the symptom and understanding the parameter, go through the history, and our EMR would recommend a preliminary recommendation. This is what we call as a clinical decision support system, where the EMR provides the initial recommendation to the doctor, okay, so that the amount of the doctor spending time with the patient will be with more quality, because you need to go through the entire history, okay, that takes time. So whereas this the AI reads the summarization of the whole thing and provides the recommendation. So these are all, there are so many use cases really helping in a healthcare perspective. There's a long way to go. But most important thing is, for all these things, it is not only the data. The quality data is important. It is not the quantity of the data, the quality of the data. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, Manoj.
So I'm saying I'll be speaking in terms of how technology companies are basically adopting it. So, and particularly companies which are serving B2B, B2C kind of ecospace, right? One of the key thing for any company like us is that we build our product in faster pace, right? The productivity of our developers. So this is a key thing that what most of the technology companies are investing into it. So which is called co-piloting, right? Basically how soon you can write code, right? How fast you can do your code reviews, how better you can write code, so that you don't get into that I need to hire hundreds of people, can I have other different kind of scale of productivity. So Gen AI basically enabling that. And what we see is that at least in this space, most of the technology companies are heavily investing into it. The other use case is when you have lots of customer, then you need to have really better customer support. In a country like India, right, when you have 1 billion plus people, and if you're serving millions of users, you can't have people basically dealing with all of that. So Gen AI again, allowing us to build different kind of bots to basically assist, understand their concern, understand their pain point, and serve them in a better way, right? At the same time, you have people coming from different regions, right? They speak in different languages, their way of communicating would be different. This is again Gen AI basically enables you to understand the context of the language what anybody is speaking and give you in a way that you can deal them. So this is two major areas where most of the B2C companies are investing heavily onto. Apart from that, no doubt, the legal, the finance, right, the content makers, the team which is basically doing all this marketing for you, right? These tools are basically making their life
very, very good, and the productivity is basically skyrocketing by using that. These are my.
Now, we have one more, because there are many participants, all of you come from diverse, but if there are a set of use cases that you think these people can start, and also if you can mention some of the key risks, that organizations should be mindful about. So for example, one of the top things which come to my mind from a generative AI perspective is the legality, for example, or the ethical considerations, for example, how data has been used. Will it stand up to legal scrutiny? I mean, you may design an application, you may be using an application, but will it stand in the court of law, for example, tomorrow if a certain content or certain 3D model, for example, is generated where you're using it? What I'd like you to explain, we have about 15 minutes now, roughly. In a short time, if you can explain on what are the first 1 or 2 use cases they can pick up from a cross-industry perspective, from your point of view. I would like Sriram and Ashish to first start off with the points on where organizations can start off with, and then probably I'll ask the other panelists a different set of questions. Yeah, sorry.
So, not from a risk perspective, I'd like to address from a challenge perspective. What we see in the Gen AI or DA space, the challenge is implementation, manpower. The cost investments are very heavy. I think that's one area which needs to be looked at. Apart from that, if I look at some other area which is a risk, yes, you rightly said legality or ethical side definitely comes in, which has to be taken care. That's why you need experts there who can help you and guide you better.
Thank you. See, the thing is like, short answer is, any of the use cases that can give you quick head start. For example, you are attending a meeting and you want to convert your meeting from voice to speech, and then you want to summarize your meeting very quickly. Your meeting is gone for 1 hour, but you want to just give a gist of the meeting. Please go ahead. Gen AI is a perfect tool. In Oracle Cloud, we support those kind of stuff. Now, the second one, for all the CEOs, SVPs, all out here, right? Let's say, for example, you've got a statement, your yearly statement, your statement of, how the company has been doing, and immediately you want to summarize it. You want to have Excel kind of a stuff which shows up, okay, this has been your revenue, this has been your CAGR, net, blah, 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 all the financial terms. Absolutely, Gen AI is the tool to go, because it can give you that kind of a summary very quickly. So you can go to CFO even if you're not from a financial background, right? Just with the data. You might have any data in a raw format, text, you can convert that. So these are like some of the things that you can immediately begin with. From the risk perspective, I would say that, definitely Gen AI also has its own share of, troubles. In the sense like, plagiarism is one of the things. Now, you have to be very careful in terms of what you're asking. We call it as prompts, okay, in Gen AI. So one of the engineering that has been done and constantly which is evolving is prompt engineering. Right? It is as similar to what you would see like the way antiviruses come, right? So in case of all the bad things that can happen from Gen AI perspective, I would say that companies need to invest also to make sure that a lot of focus is done in how you improve the kind of prompts that you give for the model to be better and will be able to, give you the outcome that you're looking for.
Thank you. So before I answer that question, what I'd like our domain experts from here, from the industry side, to share on is, from your own experience, there are some cross learnings also. So for example, what Mr. Abdullah mentioned about integration of IoT, for example, can it be used in the manufacturing process? What Mr. Bala mentioned about Copilot, for example. Now, are there any cross-industry learnings that you would like to share, which can be implemented from your own experiences, that can be implemented by any other organization to get a head start? Yes, sir. I mean, if you had any other thing, you can start with that, and then.
I think every sector it's again, Gen AI is going to be, it's going to be real in some time. It's only a question of time. So once the Copilot from Microsoft and equal product from Oracle and Google is it's already available. So once it has been in there is no option that we only have to have an adoption methodology. The risk perspective, if I say it again depends on Gen AI basically needs a lots of data sets. So the history of data sets, what is required for it to learn and churn out, that is going to be a huge challenge. And how do you include your privacy and people who have a sector who has PA, handling with the PA, how do they handle it? That's again a question of this one. And from the other challenge perspective is that you can't define an ROI before you start any JI initiative. So it is not that constructive that this is what is I'm going to deliver it. It's a learning curve. So you are actually talking to the machine and you are only training to the model and it keep learning. There is a learning curve. It's not that, okay, I've implemented from day one, I need to have the kind of return on investment. That cannot happen. There will be some reluctance from the user's perspective also, because there would be some kind of uneasiness saying that, "Arey, ye sab okay to," there is some uncomfort in terms of insecure feeling. So overall, over a period of time, I think it will be rectified, and these are the certain things from the business perspective. From social perspective, yes, I think we need to be very conscious of how the data is being utilized outside, the largest data sets and all that.
Just to add, even though ChatGPT 4 is 3 times of ChatGPT 3 data quality, but the data is as of September 2021, not as of latest. And ChatGPT 4 is not connected to the internet, okay, by the way. So you need to assume that the data is not latest, whatever you are getting. That's the most important thing. And typically in our case, what we did, so the validation is most important thing. So when you use internal data, as long as quality data, you're fine. What we did, we did the analysis of AI alone, and also we did the same patient data with the doctors. And we did a comparison for 6 months. Initially, it came around 60%, then 80%, then after which the AI was doing better than our doctors. Okay, that's the, it took 2 years. So there should be a constant monitoring, because the data what you provide, that's the most critical thing here actually.
The only question is, what if the data changes then and evolves? And if the data set or the algo is not trained on that. So for example, our panel discussed about if your DR model does not change, and if, because hallucinations, even I have found out, I mean, just as an experience, just as a fun experiment, if you try to ask Bard, for example, if ChatGPT is not connected, Bard is connected, for example. Now you have to ask specific questions on, I need this data set on these statistics on, say, cybercrime. You'll be surprised, sometimes it makes up these statistics. And you have to actually ask them the source, and it will confess that it does not have any source. So that's a hallucination of data. But yeah, you would like to share any other experience, Bala?
To do that, I think it's very important that if you don't tune the model properly, it can be big disaster as well. So the negative side to that is with that we need to be cautious.
Quickly, beyond the healthcare perspective, I'll say, everybody knows that hackers, malware attack, it's happening a lot, right? So those industry people have adopted the current AI, Gen AI 100%. For example, if I'll say that if they want to target any person to hack, earlier they used to do a due diligence of 6 months to 9 months to 12 months. That due diligence is taking place within a week and 10 days. That's the reason the number of hacking is just, I don't know how many times it increased. So if they have, if our security comes in the picture, definitely AI, without AI, it is impossible. That's definitely, we have to look at that. And if you're coming in the healthcare perspective, if I'll say that the AI, Gen AI will run on a large scale of data. And patient data is very, very sensitive. For that, then again, we have to bring the right people, right process in place with the same technology, and do a better credentialing and give the access permissions to the respective people so that the data is not getting leaked out. And the patient is not going to put any kind of allegations on us. Recently, everybody knows that Indian government has also said that maximum 25 crores and minimum 2.5 crores is going to, the patient can put allegation, but patient is not going to get a single penny. The beauty of that, the patient will not get a single penny, the government is going to get penny. But somebody is trying to screw your business, he can do that, right? So in that case, the no matter how, in healthcare perspective, no matter how mature our maturity level is still in evolving stage, the process and people should be in place on top of the technology. The best way to have a better credentialings to look at the data, share at the data, so that it's being safe from every perspective. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, Bala. You mentioned about the co-pilot experience, Bala. Anything that you believe, any other best practices that you would like to share with others?
I thought I'll
You
talk
can
about
go on with
the
yes, please.
for example, we use onboarding solution, AI-based onboarding. The risk is fake identity. That is an important risk which is to be mitigated. That is one. Second is bad data. Lot of data which we collect. There are a lot of bad data which can actually create problems in the algorithms, and finally output may be wrong. Then when we use the LLM, the translation, the comprehension may not be correct. In each language there will be particular kind of. What we found is it is in the initial hype cycle. So it has to be matured, and then finally we should use this in a proper manner. That is what actually we are seeing in this experiment. One question which are now asked, whether it can replace human intelligence, etc. Let me quote one recently. IAMK director recently actually posted in LinkedIn also. You take acronym, artificial, it will become natural. Intelligence is stupidity. So natural stupidity will get replaced by artificial intelligence. That is the first level of replacement will happen. Then, for example, the model he mentioned about, which we are experimenting, lot of circulars, legal notes, and we put it there and ask questions. If we blindly believe the compliance officer or a legal head, blindly believe the answers, then we will be in soup. So the intelligence they apply, the interpretation skill, that has yet to come. It is our maybe probably technical experts are there, they may have a different view.
You want to add on?
Just I would like to add one thing on top of it. When he said that whether the AI, the technology, per se technology is going to replace the human being, I'm telling to you that it is impossible. Because if you let's take the healthcare experience, right? You are surrounding the complete technology, your embedded system, your native application, everything is hi-fi technology you have, but technology cannot give the empathy, sympathy, and it cannot deliver the compassion. So empathy, sympathy, compassion cannot be provided any kind of that technology at any level of maturity of the technology.
I'll just ask him to answer before I hand it back to you. Yeah, what?
I'll share some of the concern which I think right now exist in adopting Gen AI. One of them is the cost. So one should be aware of the cost of basically using it. They are very, very costly right now, at least from our perspective, our experiences. Second, one need to know.
Public LLMs, you're saying, or the private LLMs?
Public LLMs, not the self-hosted ones. But again, you need GPUs. You don't have all kind of GPUs. The second is you should be aware where not to use it, because hallucination can give you something and you'll be in soup, right? AI, probably in some of the cases, what we have adopted is Gen AI is helping the traditional AI to provide certain solutions. So one has to look at how to go about it. If you can have, let's say, a solution which doesn't impact anybody's financial transaction, anybody's health, yeah, makes sense. But if directly impacting someone, one has to be very, very careful about the cost. Another point I would like to raise is that most of the LLMs are hosted outside of India, right? They're foundation models. So that's a concern. For financial companies, why they would share all their data and explore all the use cases? So by and large, people are still sending their metadata to basically work on that. Right.
Thank you. That was a nice perspective. Yes, Sriram.
I
You want to
think a
respond to what?
No.
Okay.
I don't want to respond. I would want to make it very generic and probably make it as a concluding statement, because I think he has brought out a very, very perfect point. It's all out in a public data set, which is there. So my point is, like, for all of us to get the right results without hallucinations, without some junk which is coming out, which will put you in soup, get your own data. Okay, use those models which are there that you get from LLMs, but then fine tune if needed so that you can get better accuracy, or use latest techniques that are available to augment the data, right? So that you are now narrowing from a very large data set to a smaller data set, which is only yours, and you can expect much, much better results. So that's my passing statement.
Okay, one more take. What I have is from what I've spoken with many leaders like you, and some of the suggestions which have come. So for example, there could be healthcare domain or healthcare generative model itself, data set itself, on which all of the data can be trained, maybe extracted as APIs, not the exact data, so that you can learn from the inferences and draw out. So for example, the financial services part, the healthcare part. So some of the experiences what each of you have in terms of X-rays or the different data, or for Welspun manufacturing, for example, Paytm from a financial services point of view, and even from the cloud for providers like you, for example. Maybe there are a set of experience that he knows, some experience that you know. From an Indian side, probably he would have much more finer granular data as an example. And also to the point about the internet is a lot of junk, for example. Now, to the point about humans replacing AI or AI replacing humans, an AI would not know how to selectively take out data. It is an ingestion engine which ingests everything, but it does not what to ingest exactly. So humans know, for example, if you are in a buffet dinner, we know exactly what to pick. An AI can't do that. So that's my inference, I think, and the empathy part. You want to respond? Yeah.
So if someone looks at deep fakes, they are very, very scary, right? And someone should look at what Google has launched just yesterday or day before. That's changing how we always thought where AI is going to stop.
So probably next time I have a speaker dropping out, I'll maybe have a deep fake model representing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So on a lighter note, thank you for your time and for the wonderful insight shared here. I mean, this topic is so vast that probably it can't be covered in the 40-45 minutes that we have here.